Good afternoon, everybody. How's it going? We've got a little bit of Seahawks news to sort through today. One big item, or at least somewhat big item, and one smaller item. Um, Obviously, at this point, with all the roster news we've gotten over the last few days, anything that happens at this point is going to seem a little bit insignificant in comparison, but the beat goes on. We are now about a week and a half away from our opener, and all we can do is try to get as healthy as possible and try to get ourselves as prepared as possible for it. And looking at this first game, there's a lot of stuff to be concerned about, obviously. There's a lot of stuff to not feel great about, but I think maybe chief among those things going into this week 1 opener against the Broncos was the cornerback situation. So I'm happy to report something that was, this is yesterday's news, of course, but regardless, just to talk about it for a minute here, Sidney Jones was in pads and doing warm ups with the team. He has been cleared from his concussion. He can practice now, which, given the fact that we still have a week and a half between now and the game, good indication that he's going to have an opportunity to get out there on the field against the Broncos. And this, if we want to have any chance to beat Denver, and I'll say it right now, with the things that I've seen from this team so far, I'm not feeling good about it regardless. But of all the things that were going to be an obstacle for the Seahawks beating the Broncos week 1, the cornerback situation had to be right at the top. There was a point where it really looked like we were going to be starting Tariq Woolen, Michael Jackson, and Kobe Bryant. Two rookies, and, all due respect to Michael Jackson, he's played in a couple NFL games in his career, so he's like this much beyond being a rookie as well. Against Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and KJ Hamler. So getting Sidney Jones back, I think this is a big deal. Sidney Jones, I think, is primed for a really big year if he can stay healthy. Injuries have been a problem for him his whole career, but last year he really came on like a freight train as the season went on. And having a veteran, an established quality veteran out there like a Sidney Jones is big, because we may not have Artie Burns, because he's another guy who is battling through an injury. He doesn't look right to me yet. So if he can't get right, at least we do have one guy who looks like he might get right, Sidney Jones. It's going to help. Going to go a long way to giving us the cornerback depth to at least, I'm not going to say win, but at least keep up with the Broncos Monday night. Okay, so that's the big one. That's big news right there, because a lot of people were waiting for the Sidney Jones stuff to turn, and he just kept sitting out practices, sitting out preseason games, and people were like, oh no, he got the concussion that D. Eskridge got last year, and it's going to keep him out for months. Fortunately, it looks like they may have actually just been holding him out as a precautionary method, because they know what he can do, because he's a veteran. He's been around the block. So, that's the big news. The smaller news would be the state of the practice squad. I said in my video on the practice squad several days ago that there were 5 remaining open spots. Those spots have now been filled. So, yesterday we signed Sean Mannion, quarterback, cornerback Xavier Crawford, and tackle Jalen McKenzie. A little bit of a connection between Jalen McKenzie and John Schneider, actually. There's a little bit of a story about that. Kind of interesting, kind of fun, not necessarily meaningful, but go look into it if you want to. Apparently, I think it was John Schneider held Jalen McKenzie when he was a baby or something. So, kind of cool there. So, we're bringing on the quarterback. We now have one quarterback on the practice squad. It's Sean Mannion. Not the guy I would have chosen, but not something that I'm against either. At the end of the day, a practice squad quarterback just needs to be able to throw a football. Like, would I have taken the shot on a guy like a Carson Strong or Kellen Mond instead? Sure, but whatever. It's not worth spending too much time thinking about at the end of the day. We added a cornerback, Xavier Crawford, and tackle Jalen McKenzie. That left 2 spots, and those 2 spots have been filled as of today. Condota's got the hot word. Joshua Onujiogu is indeed on the practice squad, so his preseason game against the Cowboys did pay off for him. It took a slightly different path, It looked like it might even result in a 53-man spot for a second there. Didn't happen, but he is on the practice squad, and good chance he gets called up at some point this year. Just look for him for a game or two at some point. And Jabari Zuniga from the Jets. He's actually played a little bit. He was a third-round pick of the Jets, so this is a top 100 pick. This is not a nobody from 2020, so he's kind of washed out of New York after 2 seasons. But not bad. You'd rather have a guy with top 100 pedigree than a UDFA pedigree most of the time. You get the sense that there's something there that maybe your team can harness that the previous team just couldn't. So I always kind of like that stuff, like the Tanner Muse pickup. Tanner Muse being on our practice squad. There's just something exciting about knowing that at one point an NFL GM saw that guy as a top 100 pick. That's really about it for this one, guys. The practice squad is now completely filled up. We have all 17 spots filled. So if you didn't make it, you're probably not making it. So bad news for Aaron Fuller. The dream is finally dead. Deservedly so, of course, because he did not have a very good preseason at all. The Jacob Eason dream is, of course, dead because he's gone over to Carolina now. So, good for him. He's finding work. But, yeah, you've got your practice squad. You've got your 53-man pretty well settled for the moment. Don't be surprised if another name or two gets added to the IR like Collier did. By the way, I didn't declare it officially in a video. LJ Collier did go on IR to make room for Justin Coleman. Not surprising. In fact, very much expected. So don't know if we're going to see any Collier this year, but I don't think people will really be able to notice, unfortunately. So whatever. And don't be surprised if somebody like a Kenneth Walker or a Damian Lewis slips on to the 4-game IR at some point. And at that point, you're probably bringing Onu Giogu back up because he was already on the 53-man for a minute or two. You're probably looking at promoting maybe an inside linebacker or bringing in an inside linebacker. I'm still anticipating that we're going to do something there to give us depth beyond Nick Bellore. It's just hard for me to believe this team would really go into a season where the first man off the bench, literally the first guy off the bench at inside linebacker, is probably Nick Bellore. That just, I knew we were going to be thin there. I knew we weren't going to be strong there. But that is beyond. So don't be surprised if somebody like that gets promoted. And yeah, we're just kind of waiting on that, man. So week and a half away. I'm going to see you guys later. Go Hawks. Should be on Twitch later tonight. Maybe during, maybe after the Mariners game. We'll see. But going to try to beat Fire Emblem tonight. Very close. So if you want to see that, show up. If not, I'll see you tomorrow. Go Hawks.